All right, welcome to this video. My name is Taylor Bentu, and we're going to go over team debt and how it kills your agency. Now, this is going to be a really important video if you're running an agency and you are hiring employees or you already have a lot of employees, because most people aren't aware of what team debt is and how it can seriously kill your agency if you don't know what this thing is, and how it can just slowly creep up on you over time and just completely crush your agency. And it almost did to mine about a year and a half ago. So first of all, team debt is the idea that you have a lot of employees who are operating at less than optimal efficiency. So there's a few metrics that we'll get into here, but the main principle and idea here is that you are the agency owner, and when you start out, you're typically by yourself or you have your business partner. Now, normally the founder is always going to be close to operating at optimal efficiency. Optimal efficiency is essentially just you are the most productive that you could be as a human being, and the hours that you put into the agency, and where you put those hours, you are as productive as you possibly could be. That's optimal efficiency. So this idea of team debt is when you have employees that are operating at less than optimal efficiency. So if you have an employee that you're paying $5,000, $6,000 a month who is close to optimal efficiency but is actually at 0.8, basically you're paying that 0.2, that 20%, every single month. You pay him $4,000, 20% of that $4,000 is pretty much just going out the window. And this is debt that you will have to pay back at some point in the future, and with interest, because it will accrue and it will build up. And if you hire someone and you do not onboard them properly, which is essentially training, integration, management, and alignment, if you don't get these four things right on the onboarding, this person who comes into your agency will not be operating at optimal efficiency. They will essentially be unproductive for a certain percentage of their day, and that stems from the onboarding. So again, team debt is essentially when you have a bunch of employees operating at less than optimal efficiency, and this basically means that the money you're paying them is not going to full use and full productivity, which means that you're actually losing money. But not only are you losing this money, but you're gonna have to pay it back in the future, because it can kill your agency, and it will if you let it build up. So let's talk about how you can basically battle this and make sure that every new person that you hire is not going to be operating at less than optimal efficiency, that they actually will be operating at optimal efficiency. So this comes down to the onboarding, like I talked about, and this is actually something where we're going through right now, is like after 4 years almost, and we've hired quite a few people, but we're hiring another account executive. And onboarding is really important because, first of all, if you just onboard somebody haphazardly and you don't really train them properly or integrate them properly or put them in the right role, that'd be the worst case scenario. They're clearly not going to be operating as efficiently as they possibly can. So this is where it all stems from. This is essentially just the roots. And so how do you train somebody when you hire them? How do you integrate them? Basically, how do you integrate them into the team, into the role that they're going to be working in? How do you manage them? And then are they aligned in the proper position that they should be in based on their personality type, their skill set, etc., all of that. So really, you need to get these four things down. And if you get these four things down really well, the goal is that you will get this new employee to be reliably independent, or they will achieve reliable independence. And this is an interesting term that I read actually recently on this blog post, and it talks about reliable independence. So that's essentially just somebody who you hire and you train, and now they are independent and reliable, okay? So this means that you don't really need to be over their shoulder watching them. They don't need to constantly ask you how to do something, or they don't need to constantly be nagging other team members on how to do something, because you train them properly, you integrated them properly, and you're managing them properly, and they're aligned in the position that they should be in. So again, the goal for any new hire is to get them to reliable independence as quickly as possible, because essentially if they get here because of the proper onboarding, they will be far greater and far much greater likely to be operating at optimal efficiency, within 2 to 4 weeks, because typically onboarding process is going to be at least 2 weeks. Depends on your company and the person you're hiring for, whatever, and all that. It could be even longer. So, after that onboarding phase, you want them to be optimal efficiency all the time. Now, there is a point where you have the law of diminishing marginal productivity, which is essentially like somebody can actually work too hard and spend too much time on like one thing or learning one thing, or just basically work too hard, and their efficiency will actually go down. A lot of people think that, oh yeah, if you work like 14, 16 hours a day, that's actually more productive. But truthfully, depending on you as a human being and your body and what it can withstand and how your brain functions, there is a point where if you go past working 10 hours in the day, or 11 hours or 12 hours, you will be less productive, and you're better to just stop, because there is a point where you actually start negatively impacting the agency or your company or whatever it is that you're working on, because you're actually working too much. Now, this is just specifically on the topic of like time and energy and where and how much you're spending per day in your business. And I found that, like, for me at least, working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week and then taking Sundays off, that's really pushing it. Like, I know that the last hour of the day, I just do admin stuff, like responding to emails, because at that point I'm like, my brain is mentally fried. And if I was to do something mentally challenging, like build a new lead gen system or do an interview for a new employee in the last 2 hours of my day, I would be negatively impacting the agency. And that is essentially what the law of diminishing marginal productivity is it's when you're over that point of optimal efficiency and it starts to go down. And this is a universal law, like it applies in everything. So if you look at bodybuilders, there is a point where they're pushing their bodies so relentlessly, like 10 hours a day in the gym, to the point where they might win the competition, because they're literally destroying the joints in their knees, in their entire bodies. All their joints are just being destroyed, but they're pushing it beyond. They're pushing beyond what their like optimal efficiency is, so they can make a small improvement of like 0.05% to try to win that competition. And they may get it, but they're going to kill themselves in the end. And if you look at a lot of like bodybuilders, I don't know, just a classic example is this guy named Ronnie Coleman, whose joints are just absolutely destroyed. Like, he's in crutches. The guy can't walk properly. And this happens to a lot of like the serious bodybuilders who just look insanely massive. And that's optimal efficiency, is they've gone way beyond that point, because their bodies are just like not meant to be that huge. And it kills them. They can't even walk. So that's what happens when you work 14 hours in the day and you spend the last 2 hours of your day doing something really important, when your brain does not have much glucose left, and it's just actually, it's not even functioning properly because it's so freaking tired that you need to actually sleep, or you should have worked out, or you should have eaten healthier, etc. There's a lot of different things. So optimal efficiency, this point will be different for everybody. It's not necessarily like an easy thing to track. It's more of a subjective feeling than an objective analysis, in my opinion. So you'll know, there's a certain point in the day where you feel like you've pushed beyond this optimal efficiency and you're actually negatively impacting your company. So anyways, the topic of it was team debt. So hopefully this helped you like think differently about your team, and if they are operating at optimal efficiency. And if they aren't, then hopefully it gives you a paradigm shift and you start thinking about, okay, well, like, this is somebody who's clearly not efficient, and if they're operating at like 0.6, that means I'm pretty much half their paycheck is going to waste, and I'm gonna have to pay this back in the future, because somebody that would be replacing him at optimal efficiency would be making the agency a lot more money, be a lot more productive, would save us more money, make us more money, etc. It would make the other team members happier. That's another thing, is when you have like super inefficient, unproductive employees, your best employees might just leave because they can't stand working with that person. That's culture debt, which is a whole nother video, and culture debt's a really interesting thing if you want to look into that. But really be aware of this, because it almost killed us at one point. I was working like 60, 70 hours a week, probably actually 70 plus 80 hours a week, because our team was so inefficient and our systems were so terrible that I had to spend a whole 2 months of my life just building an agency framework and a digital brain and automating everything to make up for all this inefficiency. And then we got rid of some people, we fired some people, and we literally just basically cut off everybody that was super unproductive, and helped the people that were close to optimal efficiency get to optimal efficiency by actually doing what we should have done in the beginning when we hired them. All right? So once again, just a reminder, the goal of onboarding is to get them to be reliably independent or achieve reliable independence. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you don't have too much team debt. I definitely collected a lot of debt and have paid it off royally in the last 12 months, but hopefully you can become aware of it sooner so you don't have to pay off as much as I have. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you found value in it. If you did, feel free to let me know in the comment section below what you thought was valuable. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, and also hit that subscribe button below. I post a video once a week every Monday. Thanks for watching this, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.